Hi guys, my name is Oksana Roma and I'm a practical psychologist and a results coach. And I'm just about to record a lovely podcast with a beautiful person whose name is Prosperous Taruvinga for you guys to get a lot of wisdom and nuggets. And I'm going to share some extremely important nuances about how you can change your life right now.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a truly remarkable guest joining us. Now, Oksana, how are you doing today?
Like I said before, I am a pure bliss. I'm experiencing this pure bliss and happy to be here and happy to be alive. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is all mine. I've already told you, you're the first person from Ukraine that I've actually had the pleasure of speaking to. So you can imagine the excitement. And for our viewers, you are in for a treat. I want you to imagine having to navigate the complexities of life across multiple continents while you're mastering four languages and having to guide over 600 individuals through their own personal transformations, all while you are in one's roots and following your values. Now, our guest, Oksana, embodies this journey. She was born and raised in Ukraine, as I have said, and Oksana initially pursued a master's degree in international relations while she was hoping she would make global impact with that sort of qualification, but she's now doing it in a whole different way. And when she started, she owned a travel agency which actually allowed her to explore the world extensively. And then she immigrated to Australia, where she then transitioned into the realms of psychology and coaching, also becoming an international results coach and also a practical psychologist. And you want to know what her mission is? Her mission is to help strong individuals conquer their own inner battles. Now, you could be living in a place where nothing is going to attack you, or there's no bombs being thrown above your head or your house. We all know what Ukraine is like at the moment, and this is exactly what she embodies in the types of coaching that she does, because she's doing this whereas she could have been sitting back and protecting herself, or just being happy that she's out of all of that. So Oksana's unique approach combines all the modern applied psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, hypnotherapy, and also NLP training, and she offers a signature 10-week breakthrough coaching program that is designed to facilitate profound personal transformations. And there's an interesting fact that I discovered when I was looking Oksana up. She's actually conducted coaching sessions even under the threats of bombings, like I mentioned earlier on. Now, that's strong will, and it actually demonstrates her unwavering commitment to her clients. So, in today's episode, we're going to dive into her inspiring journey, her methodologies, and also the invaluable lessons that she's gathered along the way. Now, Oksana, I could go on and talk about things that I'm not even qualified to talk about. Took us a little bit to the part, when you were maybe back in Ukraine and you were deciding what to do with your future, especially when you did your degree in, was it psychology? Yeah?
Wait, I was listening to you. Thank you so much for this lovely presentation. And I was listening to you and I just felt tears that were just about to drop from my eyes, because I did remember these instances when I was either coaching someone or somebody had a therapeutical session online with me, and there were bomb explosions outside of my window. And once and perhaps I'm not even answering your question. you brought you brought up some memories. Once I had a client, and she's Russian, but she's married to a Ukrainian guy, and they full support Ukraine, and they live in London. And she's a lovely lady, supporting Ukraine, understanding what is going on. And I had nothing personally against her, but in the moment she was telling me her story, and she wouldn't allow herself to get disconnected from the story. She was fixated on the pain, and she considered that pain to be the main thing of her life. And there was an explosion outside of my window. And I told her, you know what? You're Russian. I'm Ukrainian. You guys are bombing me right now. And I'm here listening to your story. And you want me to believe that this story is the only drama that you had in your life? And I remember the girl couldn't get pregnant for her health issues. And I know for now that they have a baby already, and the baby's 9 months old. And they live happy, and they're still in London. And that was such a breakthrough for both of us. For
Wow.
me as a human, just being a human, being fearful, being judgmental, being imperfect to the fullest, being scared, being frightened, being fueled with anger and hatred. And meanwhile, I'm going to cry. And meanwhile, wanting to push the person and let that person see something else in the story that they're consistently telling themselves. And meanwhile, helping myself recover and helping myself not to drown in hatred, in fear, but have hope, and knowing that just like I am for you, giving you my hand and giving you my space and time and my energy, just just like this way, there is something or someone out there giving me their hand, like God or whatever, because that bomb didn't land on my house, on my head. And I'm not even sure if I answered your question, but
No.
it just pictures came, and I remembered that. So I do know what it means to be in the trouble and be imperfect. And I am imperfect. And you know what psychology is a unperfect person helping another unperfect person to find their own perfection in that imperfection. And it's beautiful.
Wow.
And I guess that was a turning point for me in my career, like when I said, okay, this is the thing that I do in my life. I still study all the time. I complete another course after another course. I onboard a lot of things in my toolbox. And I
Mm.
know that I already have the most important one is the passion and the faith that things are not the way they are.
Yeah.
And just because you believe the story does not mean that the story is true. This is
Mm.
how I helped myself to overcome the hatred and the fear and go back into love and go back into life goes on. I have to take care of myself. And if I can help others as well. And this is why I feel that my mission is so true and honest. And I no longer feel like an imposter, which I struggled with a lot of times, feeling like, what do I know about life? I know a lot on my level, of course. Would
Mm.
that answer your question?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking us to that very moment. I mean, obviously, with utmost love and respect, as a human, when bombs are flying over your house or outside your window, the very thing that you look for is survival, and the instinct will be to protect yourself. But
On a
you
way, yeah.
you were selfless, and you wanted to break the pattern of that lady who was not understanding how much she had, and whatever the story she was telling herself was just not. I mean, obviously it is valid to them, but in perceptive, it really didn't amount to anything. But this didn't come to be like this all by itself. I want to know what life was like for you back in the time, especially, when you were young and going through your maybe masters in international relations. What sort of girl were we experiencing at that time?
What a lovely question. It brought me again. It brought up some memories. I remember strongly that when I was a little girl, that period of time when children are still connected to God directly because their consciousness is so limited, but the unconscious is so wide, is huge. I felt like I'm somehow special, and I'm sure a lot of you people felt that. I knew that my mission was bigger than just here. So I grew up in a little tiny village in Ukraine, a tiny village with limited access to many things. Yeah, we did have the running water at home, but we didn't have like a musical school was not an issue. Like a lot of things we didn't have access to that. And my parents were teachers. And because they were teachers, it means that you're always under control because you're always under their supervision. So I was growing up with lots of limitations, like forbidden things. I wasn't able to behave like I wanted to behave like a child, be crazy, be just easy, be imperfect. I needed to be perfect because my father was a school principal. I needed to only study and study and study again. And all I knew is that what I've learned from my parents, these limitations, just limitation, and my village was my whole entire world. And I remember when later on in life, when I started to become a little bit more conscious of who I am, what I am, and I've started to see other people, I've developed this sense of shame of my background. I was fueled with insecurities and shame and perhaps aggression or maybe anger towards my parents because that was their fault. They limited me to only this option, while other people had many options. They traveled the world, they were confident, they could talk to other people without feeling shame. That was me. That was painful. So I had no idea about personal development, about changing perspectives, about personal development books, even though from school, from being a schoolgirl, I've studied psychology because I was studying in a very special school, and we had psychology as our obligation, like a curriculum. We studied psychology, but there wasn't practical psychology. I couldn't apply what I've learned. So psychology was already in my life. Intuition was already in my life, but I had no idea because there was no guidance. Nobody told me. I had nobody to talk to. And when you don't know, you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So that was my life. And I compared with like complete blindness. And I was like surviving from a day to day. What I was having fun from just buying myself a new pair of shoes. That was the top joy. I was never overseas. I was never seeing any cool things in life. No, I never went to the ocean, to the sea. I was just like, we have no money. We are limited in resources. This is our life. My grandmother lived this way. My parents lived this way. My uncles and aunties lived this way. This is your programming. This is what you are.
Mm.
And I don't know about your culture, but in our culture, a girl must get married.
Yeah.
Because if you're not married, especially in a young age, that's it. You are a failure. And I know, because I can now reflect with gratitude and love and compassion and understanding that I rebelled on that level because I never got married at that early age. I was like, no, I want to study. So this is how I pursued with the university, and I obtained the degree of international relations because I thought once I get the degree, once I have the paper, that paper is going to change my entire everything. And guess what? It didn't happen because the paper doesn't decide anything. The paper doesn't decide who you are. You decide who you are. And I didn't know back in the days that the journey I had was a long, crooked, bumpy, not always beautiful. And everything that I had before was just, it was just, it was a flower. And when I decided that, when I thought that the diploma, the degree, that the actual paper will open up the doors of embassies for me, I had another huge painful fiasco to witness. when I started to apply to embassies for them to give me a job or a position or an internship or anything, at least something, nobody even replied.
Ooh.
Nobody even replied. And that was such a punch in the nose. And that also put me back into my well-known, comfortable box of limitations. This is your village. This is what you have. Don't even ask for more because you're not them. They are someone special. They are someone only they have that you don't.
Mm.
And I hated that perspective, but because once you are in a problem, you don't see that as a problem. It is what it is. You're doomed, but it is what it is. And I always thought that there are people out there who are better somehow. And I'm just me. What am I? Nothing. I'm like,
I like that.
but
Yeah.
but always there is a story to the story. And I think God had better plans because I've experienced life on a completely different level through I can say through magic, I think, like the coincidence that the people that I met, the things that they've said, and the decisions that I made at the time. And not just that I make the decision, I've acted upon it straight away. So it's making the decision and act on it like immediately because action and loves the speed and the speed gives the change and that change just brings you to a completely different place. And that's what happened with me when I met someone in Kiev, and the person told me so much about Australia. I was me in Ukraine, Australia. I was like, Australia, is it like even real? What is like seriously? Like people really live in Australia? Is it like real? And because I already had the travel agency and I've sort of expanded my world, at least a little bit, I've traveled different countries and I spoke English. And at that time, I was very seriously learning Hebrew. I was learning Hebrew like on a matter that I wanted to go and continue my education in Israel, international relations. That was just my idea. Again, that's what I thought that was going to fix me and help me and make my world bright. But I ended up in Australia on a tourist visa, and I was like, wow, this is cool. This is far. And then I thought, like, okay, this is a cool possibility to run away from you, from me, from my shame, from my insecurities, because nobody in Australia knew that I was a little girl from a little village in Ukraine. Nobody knew that. And how would I know? I wouldn't tell them, right?
Mm.
But what
Absolutely.
I had to learn later on is that you can never run away from you. You can never run away. You can go as far as Australia. Like, for example, I had a lot of grudge towards my parents because they didn't give me the life that other people give to their children. I was like, I can run away from my parents and that's it. But you cannot. And what I experienced while being so far away from my old stories, I started to experience love
Mm.
on a level I've never experienced before. Love to my village, love to my family, love to my parents, love to my past, love to my mistakes, love to my stupidities, love to my state and feelings. And it was new to me because that level of love, there was conscious love with appreciation, which eliminated all the pain and all the grudge, and it just love booming through you and into you. And it was like, wow, that was a massive shift. Again, I wasn't yet fully conscious about that because there's always another little guide who is standing there, and the guide is called ego,
Mm.
false pride, I call it, which is marked as a sinful thing. But again, who am I to judge? Who am I to say? I didn't know. I was what I was. So in Sydney, when I originally arrived in Sydney, I couldn't find a job. And I was like, oh gosh, seriously, I speak Spanish, I speak English, I speak Russian, I speak Ukrainian. I'm quite good with Hebrew. And nobody wanted to give me a job. But what do they even think about themselves? Look, I've got a paper from the university that says that I am a trained diplomat. and nobody wanted to give me a job. And I was like, seriously, people, what's wrong with you? So in Sydney, I was experiencing the change of perspective. Like, wealth is not what I thought about it before. Like, wow, nobody's going to open the door for me. I have to do things on my own. And I ended up finding a little job in a pizza shop, which like that was a huge, huge punch into my nose. Huge punch into my ego, right into my nose. Because I'm me. And I also had another degree from another university. I was an English teacher. I was a person who read so many books. I am so well read. I'm so well trained. And I am in a pizza shop, cutting onions, chopping onions. Oh my gosh.
So
But that's
the tears from your own pain, that was not you just cutting onions, right? That was
that also gave me tears. Trust me, I was like, oh, I hate it. But
Mm,
again, I've learned humility and appreciation and thankfulness, being thankful because that gave me money. And money opens up the doors. So that money opened up the door for education in Sydney, which I never considered because when I originally arrived in Australia, I didn't think like I would go to the uni or study because I was already trained. I was like, look, I am me. I know everything. Look, I've got the paper from two universities. Paper means everything
mm,
because I've got a little bit of money and I saved a little bit of money. I've again, by a coincidence, which is not a coincidence, I met another person who was into all of this personal development and LP training, and I started to study with them. Wow, there's another level of all of that. And I originally went into psychology professionally, or professionally when I say professionally is when I invested money. When I took the money out of my bank account and I took a loan from the bank and I invested. So this is the point when I felt, okay, this is something serious. This is professional because I pay the money and I want to receive something back. But it's not a wishy-washy thing anymore. So I went there fully just to fix my own self, my insecurities, my self-judgment, not acceptance and shame, because I'm just a girl from a little village. And all of that I had to fix
mm.
before I even considered, even
Absolutely.
before I even started thinking that I can help others by applying my skills. But I think it was all predetermined. I don't know, like something, I believe in faith. I believe in God. I believe that I'm guided. I
Mm,
believe that I am just like an instrument in his hands. And that sort of belief sits with my heart and in my heart. And I'm like, okay, God, please take me, do
right.
it. And that's how I started. And it was, I think, originally it started in 2014 and then transitioning into 15. And that's when I actually went to the doctors here in Sydney and they gave me the paper, the official paper that stated that I am depressed clinically. I
Okay.
was depressed.
Mm,
And because the doctor said that, so the law of authority worked so powerfully over me. I was proud that I was depressed. I was experiencing again myself on a completely different level, like as if I was entitled to all these states, to all these thoughts, and to not doing anything in order to change my situation or my perspective because I am depressed. And the doctor gave me the pills, and those pills, I love them. Oh, they were making me feel good. I slept finally. I started to eat again. Now, when I reflect back on that, I said that was just a part of the journey to show me how low a person can go emotionally, physically, financially, and what else can help. Because when I was in Ukraine, again, when I came back to Ukraine, and one beautiful morning, my client, I had a client at 7 o'clock in the morning. and my client, he was Ukrainian, but at that moment he was in Bali. So because of the time difference, we had to have a very early session. And I wake up very early in the morning to his text message saying, Oksana, we don't meet in today. The war started. I was like, what? And I thought, like, have you ever had your business canceled, like to a zero, to like completely canceled because of a war? We all lost our jobs like instantaneously in a second. And I turned into that depressed, scared, fueled with anger and fear and hatred person. Again, instantaneously, all the work that I've done, all the healing, all the therapy, all the pills, and all
Just
the
like that.
education received, just gone,
Just
gone
like
like
that.
this. Imagine, I was furious. Like they took not just like they took everything that was so meaningful for me, my
Yeah.
clients, and
Mm.
how like I was mad and also, like I said, also angry. But I know that I made myself sleep through the first 2 weeks of the war. I forced myself to sleep. That was the escape mechanism. And I think day 10, I already started taking clients. Day 10 into the war. I
Mm.
slept myself to the point that I calmed all the dirt and all the emotions. I calmed them down, put them down, suppressed them. Yeah, there was depression. That was just a protecting mechanism. But I started to see clients. And not just I started to see clients, I didn't have a moment free. There was like the most busy I've ever been in my business. And I joined a lot of volunteering programs, and I've joined a volunteering program that is called Hand to Hand, where I was volunteering my time, my efforts, my expertise to those who were in a much dramatic situation than I was.
It takes a different kind of person to obviously stand back and say, I think I can help other people, even though you're going through stuff yourself.
Yeah, but I think the thinking mechanism is slightly different because it's almost like you're trained. You know, when you train, you go to the gym, your body is trained, but then you drop the gym, you don't exercise. But once you back into the gym, the body has the memory, the muscles
The
have the
muscle
memory.
memory.
Yeah, that's what I had. I had the muscle memory. So the first year of the war, I was just on the muscle. I was a machine, repeat, repeat, repeat. I
Mm.
was helping people. I had so many clients that everything was just booming. And also, then later on, I expanded because I created new programs, I onboarded new girls, and we were working. So the war is war, but life is still happening. People are still dying just so. People still get sick. People still fall in love. People still get babies. People still have intimacy, right? Everything else is happening in the times of war. People still have low self-esteem, even under the bombs.
Right. I mean, obviously, in that time, you've gone on and helped over 600 individuals. What are some of the common inner battles that you observe that a lot of people face, and how you helping people navigate them? Because half of the time people wouldn't have gone through what you went through. I mean, having all those rejections, from all those embassies, and just really growing up in a space where you felt like you did not fit in or belong, you know what I mean? And all of those things will be, mounting up, and you come to another country where you've got all these qualifications, but you're relegated to the kitchen, and which is the lowest of the low. And half of the time when you actually have to pick those black bags and throw them in the garbage because that's the job that you're supposed to be doing, it just feels like you're throwing everything, your life, your everything, with that rubbish that's going there in the bin. But what sort of battles then, compared to what you went through, that people come to you for, which obviously you then help them to navigate?
Interesting. Like I've listened to how you've pictured and depicted. But you know, the trick is once you are in the moment, you don't compare anything with anything. I don't compare. I don't have the other story. I'm just there where I need to be. I am here right now. That's it. That's where I am. Nothing else matters. But I guess on a very, very deep level, as a background, it is what I call the faith. Faith. It's possible. Where you are, it's possible to just shift. And that is like the white screen that I have within. So this is the unbreakable faith that I have in you as a client of mine, that whatever you're telling me, it's just a story. I don't believe a word, even if you're logical, even if you believe that. I don't believe that because it's just a story and everything can be shifted. And I guess because I have so much faith and it's unshakable, is that the word I was looking for? Unshakable, unbreakable. And it's not me. I know it's not me. I'm just like something is passing through. This is how I feel when I'm in the session with a client. I'm in trance. They are in trance. And it's just like something is coming through because I obviously cannot remember everything that I've read in my books. No. But how do I know what to say and how to navigate the person and what technique to apply in the moment? So they say different stories, but the common thing, answering your question, common thing for all of them is just they take one episode from their life and they have this focus there, like focus, they're fixated. So what you need to do is just help them break the focus and crack it. And sometimes I can allow myself to be quite, maybe even rude. I can use a harsh word and I can talk to them like this just to break the pattern. And sometimes people get really scared and they shake. So once they shake it off, oh, I can work with you now. And then we go smoothly into what we need to go. But the first one is almost like I need to crack them as if I need a hammer to bang, 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 bang. And sometimes my words are not the words you would want to listen or to hear from somebody you come for pity. Because people come here for pity. Yesterday I had an amazing opportunity yesterday. I was just telling, I had a previous session right before you. And yesterday I had an amazing opportunity. I seen a guy who is 63, who lives in a shelter for homeless and all of that, like with a lot of stories and a lot of drama in life, with all respect. What he wanted to do is invite me into his drama and triangle and to make me feel pity and sorry for him. But sorry, I cannot do that. I don't have the space for that because pity and sorry will not ever transform your life.
Because
And
people
I
invite you
was
to a
so,
pity party, right? They want
yes,
to
he was
follow.
inviting me. Oh, that he partner level. He told me like 63 years old. Like he's got many stories to tell. Like he's got a life of stories. His partner left him, etc., money issues, etc. And I was not taking it, and I was sort of feeling very proud of myself and very right in the place, feeling that I am serving, not pitying, not solving his dramas, serving. I can't give him money. I can't give him his partner back. I can't make him a 40-year-old man. I can't. I can ask him a question that will make him ask himself a question that will give him the answer. And he will then be maybe forced or entitled to make the decision and act upon it.
You see, most people have never been called upon to
Oh,
take ownership of, everything that happens in their lives, because I mean the system, the setup has a lot of safety nets, and a lot of people have taken those to be hammocks where they just relax on those sort of safety nets. And what's the sort of response that you usually get with people, when you literally, like you say, break their pattern, and how does that go with them?
differently. Nice question. I like that. Different response. Different. A lot of people get scared.
Mm.
I have people who never return back, which is okay, because I'm not going to pity them, and that's not what they need. And they have a breakthrough right there in the morning, and that's in the moment, and that's what they needed. I
Right.
have people retreat, and then after a year they come back. And back in the days when I just started my career, that would be a punch in my nose and punch to my ego, like, oh my God, they didn't like me. Because back in the days, I wanted to save people and for them to like me, that I'm so nice and kind. And then later on in the career, I understand that I do nothing. I do nothing. I navigate, and they either take or don't take, but they own it. Once they own it, they can do something with that. This is why I never bullshit anymore, and I use the F word sometimes, even though I present myself like a very educated, classy lady, and I love that persona.
Yeah,
I love that.
I didn't even expect that from you, but now that it's
Yeah, that's what people expect. I don't even expect, but it works. And a lot of
Mm.
people wake up. So they retreat. A lot of them retreat. They take time and then they come back, but they come back completely different. Or they write a year later. Like I have a classy lady, classical example. I had a lady started to, I say, rape my Instagram with her text messages. Like, she was writing me wallpapers of all the dramas and recording me her dramas on the voice. I just taken up my space. I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't even read drama after drama, drama after drama. So like, you either come as a client or just I'll block you. So she came as a client. She took a lot of time. I was both kind and not kind with her, mothering her and not mothering her. So she felt like she didn't have any result because her life wasn't changing and her husband cheated on her. Meanwhile, like, Oksana, you promised me the life will be like, oh my gosh, I'm in therapy and my husband cheated on me. And I'm like, but she ended up going back and reflecting on everything. So that wasn't the husband that was a guilt. Like, she married, she just needed to marry someone because her first husband passed away, and she immediately needed to marry someone because she was feeling lonely. So she just married whoever. And she has a law degree with distinctions from one of the best law schools in Ukraine. She never, not even a day she worked as a lawyer, because she never held a self belief. And she worked as a shop assistant in some like tiny little stores like 7-Eleven, sort of feeling a complete fiasco. She sent me a message about 3 weeks ago. She moved overseas. She got herself a new profession. She's a masseuse. She works in a 5-star hotel, spa, something. And she says, I see the ocean from my window. I have rich clients, completely different lifestyle. And she says, like, only after 2 years after the therapy, I started to understand what the therapy was about. And this is the type of response and commitment and confirmation that I love the most, because I cry then with that. It's
Because that's
humility.
Yeah, that's life changing, because if somebody is going to uproot themselves and then now they're seeing a whole different world than what they were putting themselves through, I think that's a lot of transformation. And you've got a signature 10-week breakthrough
Yes,
coaching program, right? And
yes,
obviously promises profound transformation. Just walk us
yes.
through what a participant may expect during this journey.
Everyone has their own expectations, but most people want magic. They want like money or relationships, whatever is painful for them right now. They think that the magic is going to happen like this. So during the 10 weeks, why we call it 10 weeks? I chose these 10 weeks because I deliver it over the period of 100 days, roughly 100 days. And it's proven that a new habit is being installed solidly in 100 days. So not 21 days, not enough, but roughly it's from ancient Egyptians' philosophy, from their religion, the ancient ones. They believe that 100 days is enough for the person to be completely reborn. So I deliver my program over 100 days. And in these 100 days, mostly we work on mindset, because we cannot deliver no therapy when the mind is inflamed, when they are in pain and in turmoil of dramas. You cannot do nothing with the person, zero. So what we need to do is settle the mindset. We give some exercises and we dig deep to find out the root cause. And then off they go, and they take their time. Sometimes it's 3 weeks or something. Then they come back and then we do therapy. So what do they expect? Originally, they expect to get what they believe they need, what they believe they want. Just this week, I had a lady. So the first session she said she's going through a divorce with her husband. So the very first session, the initial session, I said, why are you here? She says, I want to be a princess. I want to be a little girl. I want the guy to look after me, to like all of that. And off she went. 3 weeks. She came back. We had our second session where I said, look, let's do the job properly. So we cracked her. She cried. Nothing about the princess came up anymore. She doesn't want to be a princess. She's a woman. She's a grown-up woman. And a grown-up woman is a queen who chooses. I mean, as an archetype, as a metaphor, she felt that what she wants is not what she said before. And I said, okay, we've shifted. Now we know who we're talking to. We're not talking to a little princess anymore who's like, I'll give you a Barbie girl and you're happy. And then we start therapy. So now she's welcome to that. So we have 2 sessions now. 8 more sessions, we do the therapy. And then we do, maybe if she wants some goals or strategy, we can do that too as well. But once therapy happens.
Because so many people have boxes they want to tick, and most of those boxes still come from the inner child, and they don't quite understand, even as grown-ups, that, wait a minute, what you wanted as a child is now just reflecting, and you wanted in adult version things. And yeah, I like that. How can people maybe get started on these transformations, and maybe where can they see some of the work that you've been doing?
This work is all secret because obviously I cannot record a session and put it out there. But the
I mean,
website,
yes,
they can
yes.
get in touch with me through my social media. And just for you guys to know, because during the times of war in Ukraine, I sort of feel like this is my obligation to serve massively to my people. Most of my social media is now in Ukrainian, but it doesn't mean that we don't work in English. There is an English version. So I conduct these sessions in Russian, Ukrainian, and English. And I bring across all the knowledge and all the techniques because I also study in Ukrainian and Russian. So what their schools have, I bring into my English speaking environment, to my English speaking clients. So please get in touch and we can help you fix
Absolutely.
yourselves.
I'll definitely make sure that all those links are in the show notes below. And you know what I really value about what it is that you're doing is you operate fluently in these 4 languages. And NLP is yet another language as well. And, just being a human is a whole different language in and of itself. I think it gives you so much of a perspective, because when somebody has to learn something from the ground up, you are by definition a rookie. You've been a rookie in so many different dimensions. You were a rookie in Australia. You were a rookie when you were trying to do your international relations. So many people never give themselves an opportunity to start all over again or to relearn, because they've just grown in the same environment, same people. They never have to learn anything different. Maybe can you comment a little bit about how this ability to learn and relearn and keep learning enhances your connection to the work that you're doing, and also helps you really really connect with the clients that you're working with?
What a nice perspective, and I like how you see me, because obviously the way you see me is not the way I see me. To me, it's natural. I grew up bilingual because Russian and Ukrainian are both spoken languages. So I don't see it as a challenge or an effort at any level. It's just my born ability. English, because English has been as a language, as an operational language in my life for so many years now. I sort of feel linked to that language as well. However, I do remember that early in my days, my professional days, I did have a drama and a trouble just with terminology. Because sometimes terminology is not something that you just naturally say. It's the word that you've never used in that language. So it means education, like you need to focus on that. So to answer your question, I said it's laser focus, it's priority, and it's constant repetition, because nothing beats repetition. So if I repeat it for 10 years, I'm well ahead of many of the people out there. And every time, and also the other thing that I call it all expansion. Because what we do in life, we always grow and expand expertise, experience, feelings, emotions, the circle of people, and the knowledge. We always expand. And I take it as expansion. And I feel so much gratitude to just being able to operate in these languages. And some languages that I've taught myself, like Hebrew and Spanish, it means focus and discipline. And that's where my humility takes place. And I'm grateful that I'm coming from a little village, from the little box, where my father was the school principal, and all I was allowed to do was to study. So in other words, for me personally, I don't know different. I don't know what to do if not to study. So to me, it comes naturally. Reading books, naturally. Study, naturally. Another language, naturally. It's I think it's a part of my personality, part of who I am, and I feel grateful for that, because I do know a lot of even my classmates, former classmates, etc., who never studied, and their parents were easy on them. Like I was jealous. Like, how come that your father is not like screaming at you for not doing your homework? It just lets you do whatever. And a lot of them ended up not nicely, like not nicely at all. And I am, wow. And I remember my girls or the mothers of my girlfriends would say, aren't your parents ashamed that you're 20 and you're still not married? Like my daughter, and her daughter at the age of 20, she would already have 2 children, a drinking husband, and all of that. And I was like, back in the days, I was jealous because I didn't know much. Now I expanded because I'm able to feel gratitude.
How would you coach Oksana in that time when she's jealous about what was happening and she doesn't quite know that she's actually on a journey to an expansive life? But when you were there, because fish don't see the water that they swim in, you know what I mean? They just are in there. They don't quite see they're in an ocean. They could be in a very small pond or whatever. They just think, well, we're just in wherever we are, and things of that nature. How, if somebody like that would show up, you know, Oksana, the young one who was resentful of her parents, because that was one of the things that you did, and I want to say they did what they did with what they knew at that time. You know, how would you coach that young girl, knowing what you know now about life, you know, and if she just showed up on your Instagram today?
Oh, that would be like, I wouldn't coach her then, because coaching is not what she needed. She would need a helping hand,
Hmm.
somebody behind her with a kind word. Like my parents were very strict, super strict, like ultra strict. So a little bit of kindness and love would make a whole lot of a difference. I would say, just honey, hold on, you get in there. And that will make the whole world change. That would work magic for me. You see, a lot of people think coaching is something like a magic tool where you walk in this way, like I walk in being dark-haired person, and I walk out magically being blonde. Coaching is not that. Coaching is the tool or a set of tools that help you change the perspective. And that's all that you need, because the job is being done by you as a client. And a lot of people, without even realizing that, all they need to do is the kind voice next to them saying, honey, you're okay. You're going to be all right. Hang on, hang on. Don't be like, oh, hang on. Let them do what they do. You've got your journey. Trust it. That's all. Sometimes all of this is essential and needed. This is why I take people on board for 10 sessions and we sign a contract, because people deviate. And it's like in medication, when you need to take pills, the doctor says take it for 10 days, even though you feel already better after the first pill, to concrete the results, And most of the time, when we start our journey together, they already feel the shift and they think, okay, I'm the God. And I was like that too. Oh, I know everything. I say, no, honey, come back, and we'll do a deeper way on a level that you've never ever experienced before. And we do therapy, and we do the inner work, and we do the soul retrieval, and we'll do the guru technique, or many other techniques. Name them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you call the technique. It doesn't matter what you call myself. Oh, and this is something that I wanted to share with you too. So with me being growing up in a fixated environment, past Soviet Union, where paper, the degree meant so much, I found out that it doesn't matter what I call me. It only matters the work that I do. And if I do it from my heart, and being as powerful as I am, having unshakable faith in me, in the process, and in you as a client of mine, geez, I don't care what you call me. Call me a witch, call me a preach. I don't care. The paper doesn't mean anything anymore.
Absolutely. And you're not defined by,
Oh, no.
what it is that happened to you. You're defined by where it is or who you're becoming. And speaking of who you are becoming, I mean, you've taken us on a really expansive journey into your life, and I really appreciate that, because your life story and your experience have so much value for a lot of people that may not have been exposed to either bombings or a world that is different to them, or a language or people, and yet you came, you saw, and you conquered. But what's next? What can we expect next in the future for somebody who's always expanding, somebody who's always learning? And yeah, what sort of legacy should we be on the lookout for in terms of the work that you're doing, Oksana?
Oh, in all honesty, and thank you for putting that into that perspective and bringing me into the future. I've learned that this is the endless journey of self-discovery. I can't predict what I'll discover about me tomorrow. I may become a scuba diver tomorrow because I love that. I love scuba diving. I may say, like, to hell with everything. I'm going to have time of my life scuba diving somewhere in Florida, for example. That can happen too. Or I may get pregnant or feel pregnant and get a baby and become a full-time mama. We don't know that. I can't know that. And this is the beauty. I don't have these expectations. And I don't promise anything to the world. I can only promise here, while you are with me, I'll give you my 100%, and you'll have a massive shift. And doesn't mean that the shift will be right here, right now, this very moment, but you'll get it. A lot of people get it. And most of the people get it because the integration happens. There is an integration process, and it happens, and it continues, and people get all these little miracles. But I obviously do have my, like, the ego things. I want to expand my social media impact in terms of having more people subscribe to my channels. That I want. I want to have a team helping me with, let's say, with the tech part, with cutting my reels and my videos. I would love to have that. I would love to have an ability to deliver to masses and be able to speak to masses from the stage. That is also like a perspective, and my desire, why not? And I've conducted so many live events, a lot of them. And sometimes I feel lazy, or sometimes I also feel scared or uncomfortable, and it comes and goes. And I would love to bring it to consistency of some sort. Traveling the world, delivering masterclasses, for example, of course. And I can do that. And I, I can cover a large portion of the world with the languages that I speak, and I know that. And sometimes I just feel lazy. So I also want to have a magic pill to take this laziness away from me. I would love to take the magic pill that takes the fear from me, but I don't have that pill, and I am my own pill. I would love for the war to stop. I would love for people who died at the war, lost their loved ones or their limbs, their health. I would love for that to be restored somehow. Can I do that? No. I would love for my brother to be able to travel because he's trapped in the country because he's not allowed to be out of the country. I would love for him to come to Australia. This is also expansion. So being a human, I have all the human wants and needs along along with my soul expansion. Because if my needs are not met, if if my tummy hurts or if I'm hungry, I can't serve the world to the best because I'll
Absolutely.
be thinking about me, right? So I want to be as real as I can be. I don't ever say that I want to change the world. I want to coach 1 million people. I don't. I don't. I can only work on my own self. And my work is being reflected in the message that I carry across. And then my client comes to me because somehow they feel the connection. And that's enough. That's
Absolutely.
I don't I don't like this.
Absolutely. Oh my
Oh,
word.
change the world.
Yeah,
What change the world if like how many promises I broke but I gave to my own self? How many promises do I break on a daily basis? I'm just a human. I don't want to change the world,
absolutely.
but I
Great.
want to change my relationships with me first, and then it will make an impact.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate this. Now, Oksana, I don't want you to even feel any tinge of guilt because, you've flown around, you've been to many different places. Have you ever noticed when the air hostess says, in case of an emergency, put your mask on first? And that's exactly what it is that you're doing. You're looking
Yeah.
after yourself. That way, you can be of use to every other person that would have the opportunity and the privilege of being in your presence, which you have done for us today. And I can't thank you enough for all the lessons, all the journeys, the tears we shared together, and everything else about your story. And like I said earlier on, your life story and your experience have so much value for anyone that has an opportunity to be graced with that presence. So keep going on that journey, keep taking those leaps, and keep documenting every moment of it, because I think we're learning from you, and I can't thank you enough for the insights that you shared with us today.
Thank you so much for giving me the space. I thoroughly enjoyed it and your presence. And I've said it before, I'll say it out loud for the people to know. I love your presence. I love your energy. I love your kindness. I love your enthusiasm and I love your encouragement. And I'm very thankful to Prosper Taruvinga for having me here on this podcast and letting me share my humble story about my humble self with the world.
Absolutely. I really received that, and I'm humbled by you saying that. I mean, obviously based on the experience that we've heard you've gone through. But for those that are listening right now, if you found value in today's episode, I actually encourage you to rewatch this because there's so many nuggets that were dropped. But obviously, as with anything, you just wanted to come to the conclusion to see where it all ends. But if you just really go back and start really picking on all the gold nuggets that Oksana was leaving, you might be surprised of the treasure trove that she actually left. But if you got enough from this particular episode, I also encourage you to share this with somebody that might benefit from Oksana's story and expertise. I mean, in life, we're going through stuff. We never know what the other person is going through. Maybe Oksana's resolve or perspective might actually help them be, do, and have a happier existence. And if somebody has shared this with you, if you can reach out to them, just give them a hug. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys watching this right now. Don't forget to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show for more insightful content like this. Until next time, stay prosperous.